So next up, we're going to be checking out Rain World Downpour Review. You Are Not Alone by Jay the Red. I've seen his previous coverage of the base game for Rain World, and that's really the only exposure to this game I've had. And it looks awesome, man. And I heard this is one of the DLCs where you get more players, more character choices, and just more lore. How much lore? I don't know, because I've been told that while Jay the Red goes into basic gameplay and elements to get you an idea of what's happening in the game, there's other channels that go into way more about the actual lore. If this is one of the lore videos, I don't know, but I'm curious to see what happens because so many people were very insistent that there's a ton of information going on. That Downpour is a very important piece of what's happening in this world. So I'm kind of excited. So let's jump into it and see what happens.
Have you ever played Hollow Knight but wished that the entire game felt like Deep Nest? Instead of hacking and slashing through bugs, would you rather be running in sheer panic from them? Do you think it would be cool and interesting if cancer could sprout legs and try to eat you?
What?
Do you wish that rodents could produce explosions at will?
Oh yeah, it's called playing Skaven.
Do you think that Shinji from Evangelion should have been a green squirrel? Do you still have daydreams about that squirrel getting disemboweled by a hawk, but think it would be better if the hawk had melted it with heat vision? Well,
there are so many things wrong with everything he just said.
Welcome back to
Rain World Downpour. Is that a slug cat with knives? Or two spindles? No, it looks like they're an eye thread. So needles, yeah.
Rain World Downpour is a huge expansion DLC, nearly doubling the region count of the base game and adding 5 new slug cats with unique abilities and, get this, an actual plot line. Before I get into the DLC itself, I should at least mention the remix options which are added to the game for free alongside its release. This is sort of an addendum to my first video, as the majority of my few grievances with the game can actually be resolved in the remix options. First of all, there's a checkbox for stronger bottomless pit indicators. I complained about the hard-to-read nature of Rain World's death drops, as the game's camera system requires you to drop into potentially deadly pits to figure out whether you can go there at all or not.
So basically, a lot of the options that he had problems with are better. So you need to get the Downpour DLC just for quality of life improvements. Or is it basically one of them? And Valerian, their spears, the Spearmaster grows them on himself. So it's a individual quill pine. Got it.
What kills you and what doesn't is usually fairly intuitive, but there are a few places where it gets a bit muddy and the indicator for deadly drops is very, let's say, subtle.
Is there an indicator?
To the point that I could not notice it even after knowing it existed. This option makes it a bit to the point muddy and could indicate notice deadly even after knowing it existed.
Sorry. I'm used to there being a fade out when I do YouTube, so it's actually right below the bar for me. Also, Whackpool 1. Have you ever tried Gunpla Paint Vid? I haven't done Gunpla, mostly because I was more on the 40k building side. Paint videos, I've actually done a few years ago. My current setup, theoretically, if I got an extra input for the other camera I have and another mount, I could do them right now with my current setup. Although I need extra weight because that actually might knock over my current tripod. But yeah, I could do that. It might even be fun someday. Just need to get around to it.
Makes it a bit better and at least possible to see.
Oh god,
Second,
it's the bird.
Key item tracking and key items on passage.
Normally,
colored pearls containing lore are a huge pain in the ass to read because you have to haul them across the map at most 3 at a time, if you want to sacrifice both hands, and if they were lost along the way, they would be permanently removed from your save. Key item tracking makes them respawn if lost and appear on your map so you can find them again.
Okay, that's good, because honestly, that's one of the things that really bugged me. Hearing that you could permanently lose items you didn't even know were important, that is one of those nope, not playing it moments. This is actually resolving that.
Key items on passage makes your fast travel take all of your unique items in your shelter with you, instead of only being able to keep whatever is stored in your stomach. Meaning you can hoard as many pearls as you want inside a shelter and instantly take all of them with you to your intended destination. This makes finding the pearls much more bearable. Made me actually want to find them. These options also apply to a few other irreplaceable items, but pearls.
What was that?
To find them. These options.
The more I look at the background, the more I don't want to look at the background. That doesn't. No.
Also apply to a few
No.
other irreplaceable items, but pearls are the big one. Third, loading screen tips and extra tutorials.
Oh.
This lowers the barrier to entry by explicitly telling you some of the less intuitive game mechanics, which I will concede removes a bit of the game's mystique, but I think it's a really nice thing to opt into if you want some help but don't just want to open the wiki. Fourth, and finally, reindeer AI improvement. You can wiggle on their antlers to make them get up and change directions so you aren't 100% dependent on their AI, and now only 70% dependent on it. The reindeer can still go to hell where they belong. There's lots of other things in the remix options to modify your experience, and I think it's good to have the option to soften some of Rain World's harder edges if you really...
I'm sorry, people can speedrun this game? Okay. Sure. I'm sorry, everything I've heard about this game is like saying, how do you like something that's going to torture you? And then that's probably exactly speedrun fodder. I mean, people will speedrun Jump King. Why not this? Gilgamesh going, people speedrun anything? Yeah, I believe it.
Let's get to the proper DLC stuff.
Wait. Was that the Artificer? The Gourmand. Oh, he's got food. An indulger, simple pleasures in life.
DLC stuff.
God.
For the sake of my own sanity, I'm going to assume that you've played through the base game of Rain World at least once and enjoyed it for what it is. There will be comparisons and references to the base game content that will not make much sense without context. I will do my best to avoid spoilers for the story of Downpour in here, but there will inevitably be spoilers for the base game, including the ending, which should really be experienced firsthand.
Oh. This is one of the things, because everything he said so far makes it seem like Downpour is more necessary than the base game just for quality of life, but also having a more coherent story.
If you have no idea what Rain World is and have somehow landed on this video anyway, first of all, how did you even find this? Second, go watch my review of the base game first to see if you would enjoy it spoiler-free before coming back here. If you don't understand what all these images mean and are at all interested in playing the base game, you should probably click off. Now, let's get started by talking about the
map changes. Oh, a lot more water constant.
Whoa, hey, that's not the usual format. What about the presentation or whatever, I hear my straw man of you ask? Well, the topic of this video is an expansion / DLC of a game I've already covered. I don't see a point in talking ad nauseum about how beautiful and unique this game looks and plays when it's more to do with the base game than Downpour.
Oh.
That being said, the new parts of the map added by Downpour are really visually impressive.
Whoa.
In the years that have followed Rain World's release, the team behind Downpour have clearly been honing their map-making skills.
Bigger, open, and even though it's 2D, they have a lot of depth to them. That's actually kind of beautiful.
And have met, or even exceeded, the quality found in the base game. I feel that the new regions also stack up well gameplay-wise. It's almost enough to simply have new places to explore, but also just for practicality, there are new connections between previously distant regions. The pipe yard acts as a nice crossroads between the four corners of the map, even if it isn't my favorite in terms of raw gameplay. The only issue I have had is that some of the more visually busy regions can heavily obscure tunnels, pipes, and platforms.
I'll be honest, if I was looking at this on the screen, I would just give up because I can't see shit. Even when he was moving here, it's like, nope, that's way too much.
More than the base game ever did, making readability a bit of a nightmare sometimes. But those obfuscations are few and far between, and the new regions more than make up for in pure visual style. This feat is even more impressive when you consider that Downpour nearly doubles the region count with 10 new regions to explore. Well, saying that is maybe a bit deceptive. There are 10 new regions, but many are only accessible in certain campaigns, either because a specific Slugcat's unique abilities allow it to reasonably access them, or, for story reasons, they simply don't exist for anyone else.
So the difference in who you choose isn't just a difficulty multiplier now, it's actually story dependent. I guess he did say Downpour was more invested in that. Okay, that makes sense.
For instance, there's a region Rivulet has to cross in their campaign that is almost entirely submerged in water, but due to Rivulet's vastly improved swimming speed and lung capacity, they can traverse it just fine. This
looks like an
region is
axolotl.
technically still accessible to Survivor, Monk, Hunter, and Gourmand,
but
you may notice that there's no air in these rooms. Those four can traverse the region with great difficulty, but there's no reason besides bragging rights and self-flagellation to do it. However, this is an exception to the rule. Most of the new regions are strictly exclusive to one or two of the new Slugcats, and do not exist outside their respective campaigns.
Oh.
At a surface level, this kinda sucks to hear. The base game Slugcats got the short end of the stick with only 2 new reasonably accessible regions and 1 new sub-region stuck to the ass end of Chimney Canopy, but let me tell you, it's really worth it. Pipe Yard is fine as a traversal option, but the other that I can't show you because I'm counting it as a spoiler is frankly one of the most breathtaking regions in the game.
It's just, that bothers me. Not because I don't disagree with him. Everything he said makes perfect sense not to spoil, because he's trying not to spoil things, but I'm fine with being spoiled. This game looks harder than tic-tac-toe, so well beyond my skill point. But I would love to find out what exactly he would consider the most breathtaking part, because so far there's been so much, and also the art on the background of the giant lizard. Oh God, I need to find the lore of this thing, man. I've been told it's incredibly detailed. I need to know more about it.
And hear me out. I think having regions restricted to specific Slugcats has an actual benefit. Every Downpour Slugcat gets at least 1 unique region only accessible to them that was specifically crafted to play into their unique capabilities and would just not work well for the others. Like, as I said, the underwater region for the Rivulet, or this platforming design for the Artificer, or, nothing I can show for the Saint. Ugh, it's gonna be so hard to talk about the Saint. So let's start easy by talking about
the Gourmand. What does the Saint do?
The Gourmand is the most straightforward, but also the most mechanically complex of the new Slugcats.
Really?
I'm guessing their campaign is designed to get old players refamiliarized with Rainworld in preparation for the rest of Downpour, and therefore is largely similar to the base game's campaigns. With that in mind, some prior map knowledge will be extremely helpful for beating Gourmand with minimal backtracking. I recommend that you at least try a run or 2 of Hunter before starting Gourmand. Partly for the map knowledge, partly for a fun surprise, and
wait, you need to specifically do Hunter. Wasn't that like the hard mode of the initial game?
partly so you can encounter some hard mode enemies, because Gourmand's campaign can be rough if you're just coming out of Survivor. Well, not as
Oh, so basically you need to already be able to play at a certain level so you know what to do. Ooh.
ball-bustingly difficult as Hunter, Gourmand does pose a challenge due to their unique traits and plenty of hard mode enemies to find along the way.
So in other words, you're not playing the Hunter hard mode, but you're getting access to a lot of the enemies from it. Which, yeah, that would be a bitch.
Who the fuck decided to put a king vulture in goddamn Shoreline? This is actually the easiest of the new campaigns too. Yahoo!
Easiest. God damn. I was not expecting him to say that. That is absolutely terrifying.
You may have noticed at this point that Gourmand is rather plus-sized. This is because they have to eat 7 food pips per cycle to not starve. For those not keeping track, that's the entirety of Survivor's maximum. In compensation, the Gourmand can eat both regular food and corpses like the Hunter. They can also make a meal out of 2 different food types for an extra food pip. With how generally abundant food is in Rainworld, doubly so if you go the carnivore route, food is rarely an issue despite Gourmand's increased demand. And now for how Gourmand gets complicated. Most of their unique attributes are centered around their supreme rotundness. Most obviously, they are physically much heavier, which means shorter jumps, slower climbing, louder walking, and shortness of breath. Well, that's all pretty bad, isn't it?
What's the upside?
Well, there's one obvious benefit to being very heavy. Just get some height above something you don't like, and let physics do the rest. As it turns out...
Oh, he can Mario!
Gourmand is actually a bit of a combat powerhouse, capable of pulling off WWE wrestling moves on predators and stomping
His name is John Gourmand!
them into the pavement. Rolling or sliding as a Gourmand carries you much further than any Slugcat, and hitting any living thing in the middle of your roll or slide will stun it and do damage. Just be careful around things you don't want to pancake. If crushing spines under your immense weight isn't working out for you, there's also good old-fashioned spears, which the Gourmand can launch like a bulbous ballista, doing 3 times the damage of a normal hit and throwing you forward with its momentum, instantly exhausting you.
So in other words, the upside here is that it's the easiest because you're actually really good at damage.
On that point, the Gourmand can actually make up for their relatively poor maneuverability with some help from their throw. Throw boosting is a tech that any slug cat can use to get a bit of extra distance on a jump, but Gourmand's spear throw launches them. Combine this with the normal throw boost for unmatched horizontal jumps, except maybe by Rivulet, but that's cheating. Just be careful when throwing spears near ledges. Gourmand's final notable...
Because you'd throw yourself off. Oh, yeah. And Tron just mentioned, Hikamario, prepare the lawsuit. Honestly, if Nintendo sees that, they might actually do it. They've tried to copyright mechanics before.
Ability is that they can craft. If you take two different items, you can try and combine them into a single new object.
But
there is no indication of what and what makes what, so either guess and experiment and hope you get something useful, or look at the wiki.
I'm sorry, what? Oh boy, that is a thing. Which is weird, because I thought crafting would be more Artificer, but it's the Gourmand who can do it.
With the right ingredients, Gourmand can make just about any item in the game, including, somehow, living creatures.
What?
To assist with that somewhat, the Gourmand can also regurgitate a random item at the cost of 1 food pip. The list of possible items for regurgitation is relatively small and based on random chance, but the more important thing is that this ability creates an empty food pip, for reasons I'll get back to in a second. The Gourmand also serves as an introduction to a new
Okay. The extra fluffy slug cat is adorable, even if it is apparently the murder machine.
Concept added by Downpour, alternate endings. With Downpour, every slug cat can get an ending other than Ascension, with the exception of Hunter, whose only other path is dying horrifically. These endings are obtained after completing their slug cat's story mission.
What?
Gourmand's is one of the more straightforward, and the only one I feel I can talk about in depth without getting into spoiler territory. The Gourmand's quest is, perhaps unsurprisingly, to eat. Above your hunger pips is a series of icons indicating what you've already eaten, the flashing icon of your next recommended target. You do not have to do this quest in the order it's given to you, but the recommendations lead you through the regions in a way that makes finding all your targets relatively easy.
And is also why he said that this was a way to get people back in, because it's leading you through the old map to let you readjust to it. Okay, that makes a lot of sense, because its base mission would also be refamiliarizing yourself with it, where everyone else might need more knowledge you just wouldn't have, and this is getting you to have that again. Okay.
Your starting few quest items are Slime Mold, Blue Fruit, Batfly, Mushroom, and Black Lizard, all easily found in your starting area of Shaded Citadel. Unfortunately, this does mean you have to spend time in Shaded Citadel. But what if you've stuffed your face with flies, fruit, and fungus, and have managed to bumble your way into killing a black lizard but have no room left to eat it? This is where being able to free up a food pip on command via regurgitation is handy. You just hack up a bat nip and make room for whatever else you're trying to eat. And maybe if you're lucky, you'll even cough up a psychedelic mushroom, so you don't have to spend any more time wandering through Shaded looking for one. After chowing down on that lizard, your next objective is Bubble Fruit, clearly leading you to Shoreline. Then after you're done there, to Garbage Waste. So on, so forth, until your very hungry slug cat has eaten its way up through Pebbles and down to Subterranean.
What?
I feel that Gourmand mainly serves as a way to show you all the new stuff added by Downpour, like the many new types of food, including the appropriately named Gooey Duck.
But that's an underwater thing, isn't it? Like, isn't that a type of clam? I guess that's not really underwater. It's more shoreline, of course. I think it's like a long clam that looks awkward when you see it. But yeah, so he was right. This is what he meant. It's an introduction to a lot of things, but not just the world itself and reintroduction, but actually to new mechanics. Okay.
Hey, wait, this room wasn't down here before.
And forcing you to see new
Gourmand
things.
has a laundry list of abilities. All the other slug cat's ability sets are much more compact, perhaps appropriately so, and yet Gourmand has the most standard questline. Their route barely deviates from the Survivor and Monks, and in practice plays about the same as well. So, despite their seeming complexity, I would recommend playing Gourmand as your first Downpour campaign. Beating Gourmand, and optionally their food quests, unlocks the rest of the slug cats excluding Saint.
Excluding Saint. Clear the game as Rivulet and Spearmaster to unlock. Oh, so you have to do 2 specific ones to do.
That is, if you haven't already beaten the game as either Hunter or Artificer, but I recommend playing the campaigns in the order they appear on the menu. So, following the recommendation, let's move on to...
the Artificer. Whoa. Graffiti everywhere.
The Artificer is simultaneously one of the most fun and the most frustrating campaigns in Downpour.
Did he just blow himself up?
Like the Hunter, the Artificer only gets 1/4 of a food pip from eating fruit and bat flies, and instead needs to eat corpses, therefore requiring an aggressive playstyle to survive. Also, like the Hunter, they get increased movement speed and spirit damage to help facilitate that aggression.
Is it just me or does it have a black eye?
However, Artificer cranks that up to 11. The Artificer's main gimmick centers around their ability to blow things the fuck up. This manifests in a number of different explosion-based abilities, the most prominent and least destructive of which is a double jump that flings you in whatever direction you want.
Okay, so apparently it's literally the bomb expert. We now have Rainworld Bomb. Sure. Okay. And according to Hypergaze, it's a very difficult campaign for Saint because they're basically the final boss. Oh.
This change alone completely
scar.
alters how the game is played.
Scar on the eye.
Sure, it renders the majority of Rainworld's platforming mechanics obsolete. I don't think I ever pounce jumped once, but the double jump is just so fun to use, and Artificer really needs it. The second most notable ability is that Artificer can turn Spear's explosive and any random rock into a grenade.
What?
This costs 1 food pip to do, but with
everything is grenades. I knew he was explosive based, but it's literally infinite grenades if you have food. Okay. Oh,
your homemade WMDs in hand, killing things for food isn't as much of a problem. And
wait, Artificer is basically Doom Girl of this game because it's a girl? Wait, they reproduce? Yeah, that's what I'm surprised about. Because I kind of thought nothing ever died here, so that would be weird that if there was ever anything new added.
then you can turn that corpse into more explosives to further decimate the local ecosystem. The Artificer is also immune to explosions.
What?
A bomb detonating 1 inch from their face only stuns them, so go wild. And lastly, the Artificer
He even put the white noise line in there from an explosion. Nice.
can create a little shockwave around themselves to stun all nearby creatures and knock projectiles out of the air. Useful for getting out of tight spots or creating an opening to attack using your maul.
Damn.
Oh, I guess that's the last thing. You can maul stunned enemies for a small amount of damage. It's only good as a finishing move or to kill weak creatures. Just be careful, because using your double jump and your shockwave causes the Artificer to overheat. And overheating too much will stun or
And that's probably
kill them.
dozens for the enemy nearby,
Artificer is the combat character. A lone lizard is nothing. A pack can be burst with a well-placed grenade.
You know, I thought the Gourmand was the big enemy, but I guess that's just more letting you feel powerful before moving to the Artificer, who is powerful.
Vultures are easy food, and you can even kill longlegs without much sweat. Hell, you can actually take down a king vulture in a straight fight, which is good because there's probably at least one king vulture in every region that has a sky.
Of course there is.
There's a couple reasons Artificer is so souped up. For any other slug cat, this campaign would be near impossible, it's just how flooded the world is with hardcore predators. If you're not good at combat yet, you're going to have to get good now or die.
Which is probably why he said to move to the previous ones of Hunter and then into Gourmand, because those are a character that focuses on hunting, so you learn the mechanics, and Gourmand learning how to fight more powerful. Okay.
Over and over and over. And even then, you should expect to die repeatedly anyway, because there's one last gimmick that is central to the Artificer that will contribute to the majority of your deaths.
What?
You are at war with the scavengers.
Oh!
The Artificer forces you into extreme hostilities with the scavs, which I've never ever even thought about doing in any other campaign because, frankly, it's just a horrible idea. Being friendly with them is not too hard to do and has lots of benefits. And on the other hand, having an enemy that comes in packs is bad enough. When they all have ranged weapons and explosives as well, in this game. But the Artificer is uniquely capable of standing up to them with their toolkit. Double jump to get in and out of range quickly. Use your stun to get an opening for an easy kill or retreat. Grenades can't hurt you, but they sure can hurt scavengers.
I'm wondering if this is part of the lore where something happened to force that. And Larry mentioned scavs killed her child. Oh, and that's why, yeah. Or multiple children, possibly. That would be a bit of the lore, Valerian. Yep. I definitely need to check out the lore of this later on.
Say goodbye to your squad, idiot. But just because Artificer is uniquely capable of fighting the scavs does not mean it's easy. Their range is a fairly unique threat, especially because they can throw spears at more angles than you can. They also travel in packs of 3 or more, and while they usually only take 1 spear to die, so do you. They will consistently be the most dangerous enemy you have to go up against.
Although I want to ask one thing. According to Alt Account and Valerian, it's because the scavs kill the kids, but what I'm getting is, How did the kids stay dead? Because I thought the entire shtick with Rainworld is death is not a thing, except for the people who managed to finally get to do it.
You do have to go up against them. The Artificer's karma is stuck at the lowest possible, which is not very useful for opening doors. But you know whose karma is not stuck at level 0? The Scavengers.
What?
Kill one, check its karma, and use its carcass to open up doors for you. Honestly, I think that being forced to fight the scavs for once is a cool shakeup. For a while.
Is that a mechanic that works with other people? Like, are you able to just like randomly grab corpses in other characters, or is that just a new thing with the Artificer? Because that seems like it could be an ultimate cheat if you just randomly didn't have enough karma, but brought in someone who could absolutely fuck around with it.
Eventually a novelty starts to wear, especially in the later parts of the campaign. Eventually there will be so many of them that they are literally raining from the sky, and all it takes is one unlucky spear to kill you, and sometimes the scavs have the aim and reaction time of a CSGO pro.
Damn.
This is made even worse by Artificer's second worst enemy, the camera. Remember how I complained that sometimes you can just walk into the mouth of a predator just off screen and not even have a chance to react?
Oh, yep, fell right into it.
Artificer's speed makes doing that so much easier. Sure, I could just slow down, but the majority of the fun with Artificer is the movement. But even worse than that are off-screen scavs. Don't even have to walk into them for them to kill you without notice.
They can kill you off-screen. Yeah, that right there is one of those nope things for me. That almost seems like something that needs to be patched. It's one thing to dodge an enemy you could see and just didn't notice. It's another thing to dodge an enemy that you had no possibility to even know was there.
They have range and eyes that don't rely on fixed camera shots. It's likely that you will be speared by a scavenger you didn't even get a chance to see at least once, and that just feels bad.
Yeah.
That's why I opened the review of Artificer with the line I did. It's so fun at the start, but even though it's potentially one of the shortest campaigns if you head straight for the objective, by the end I'm ready for it to be over. Yes, I think you should still play it. The Artificer's story is really great, their abilities are fun, and it has some good novelty, getting to play with explosives and scavs. But is it my favorite? No. It's hard to say, but I think a strong contender for that title is...
The Rivulet? Rivulet? How would you say that? Oh, we'll probably hear in a second.
The Rivulet is quite simple to explain. It's like playing Survivor on cocaine.
What?
The Rivulet can run nearly twice as fast, jump twice as far, is moist and clammy, but can only be active for 5 minutes at a time.
Oh.
Alright, that's it for Rivulet. Let's wrap it up.
Ah! What the hell did he just put on screen?
At a time. Alright, that's it for Rivulet. Let's wrap it up.
Credits. Whoa, that's the wrong button. Cast: Jay the Red, the video guy, Daybird, dipshit friend, survivor, basic bitch, hunter, cancer patient, gourmand, the whale, artificer, racist. Oh my god, Rivulet, coke addict, spearmaster, disgusting freak, saint, hippie, video cult developer. Akupara Games publisher, you, the person watching this gameplay, recorded by me, writing Jay the Red, editing Jay the Red, filming the gameplay, captured by Jay the Red, Jay the Weird. Oh my god. Rainworld Downpour, video cult developer. I guess video cult's the one who's doing this. What the? I'm running out of things to write for this bit. Hello, everyone who is going frame by frame to read this for some reason. My friends is helping to keep me sane. My family also doing that. You for being here for some reason. Stop reading this and watch the video. The music used in this bit. Hillbilly Swing, Kevin MacLeod. Oh yeah. It's a good thing I'm not doing that. Fuck. My god.
Okay, yes, Rivulet is exceedingly simple compared to all the other slug cats, but there are still
I
a
love
couple
when I do
quirks of their
gets like
campaign
that,
to talk
or
about.
bits.
Rivulet is the speedrunning character with the fastest movement in the game, so fast it can be an issue sometimes, but this fun gimmick is central to your survival. Once your shelter opens, you only have 3 to 5 minutes before the rain comes again.
What?
Which is less than half the time you usually get. Even with their frankly absurd extra speed, this is barely enough time to find food and shelter, while still avoiding the plentiful predators.
Oh.
Especially considering Rivulet has the strictest food requirements of all the slug cats, needing 5 pips of food to hibernate and only being able to store 1 pip for the next cycle. Rivulet is the ultimate test of map knowledge.
Oh.
At this point, you've probably beat...
So this is probably why I need to do Gourmand in advance, because you need to know where everything is and know where all the new food sources are as well to know that they're food sources.
The game 4 or 5 times already and should know the map like the back of your hand. And you're going to need that because even with that knowledge, you're going to be cutting it close. Make use of rivulets' increased speed and jump distance to cut corners and get into shortcuts that would otherwise be inaccessible. Leap over and past predators so fast that they don't even get a chance to grab you, and snag some food while on the run, you might just make it. That being said, the rain isn't as much of a threat to rivulet as the other slugs.
Because water? Huh. It is kind of fascinating, though. This is basically the speedrun character, because if you're not speedrunning it, you're not playing it correctly, it looks like. Because you need to optimize food and running and not even getting into combat because of that.
They will still get turned into turquoise mush under direct rainfall, but swimming through flooded tunnels is not a problem because Rivulet has one final trick up their sleeve. You may notice they have these gills sticking out of their face, a clear reference to this creature from Minecraft,
Yep.
allowing Rivulet to
I want to say he's making a joke about the axolotl as a fake creature that only exists in Minecraft, but there's also the part of me going, there's probably people who only know the axolotl as a real being, a real living animal through Minecraft, and might think that it was made up as a fantasy creature. I mean, they look like they are, but no, they're real. You could find them in pet shops. There's even one near me, and I'm not exactly in a really affluent area, so the fact that they have them there means they're not that uncommon.
survive underwater. Now, they can't actually breathe underwater and will still drown, but their incredibly increased lung capacity allows you to take your time and look around while submerged, especially because Rivulet is also a fast swimmer. And you better get used to swimming, because a good third of Rivulet's campaign is going to be underwater. This is an entirely different experience than what can be found with
adding
any
more
other
timers.
slug cat. Water is usually something to be avoided if possible due to leaving you basically defenseless and in danger of drowning, so you rarely get the chance to interact with the swimming mechanics or aquatic predators like the Leviathan or the newly added Aquapede.
Oh god!
Rivulet gives you an even playing field. Being stuck in open water with a Leviathan is no longer a death sentence. Now you can actually avoid them with some skilled movement. I, for one, think this is a great novelty on its own.
I thought that was part of the background. That's actually one of the monsters you have to dodge? Nope. 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 And Proton, you mentioned it's pronounced Akalot? I'll probably go butcher that.
Even without the fun of sprinting over land. One last mechanic to bring up for Rivulet are shelter failures. If this is your first time hearing about this mechanic, I bet your heart just sank a little. But it's really not as bad as it sounds. Sometimes when you rest in a shelter, the door will open early, letting you out while the rain is still happening. This rain isn't as deadly. It alternates between a heavy downpour that will push you to the ground and a lighter rain that barely has an effect on you. Interior areas of the map may also still be partially flooded and need to be either swam through or left alone until they drain. Eventually the rain will stop, the rooms will drain, and the cycle will continue as normal. It's a fairly simple concept, but there are a couple side effects to note. The first one being that you can't return to the shelter that the failure started from, and you have to find a new one. The second is that the start of the cycle's timer is delayed. For the Rivulet, this could mean that a shelter failure actually doubles the amount of time you have to...
Oh! So it's a bad thing on the face of it until you realize that it's actually giving you leeway from an otherwise incredibly tight and precise cycle. Oh. So it's actually something you should be looking forward to as long as you know what you need to do next. Huh.
Move before the cycle ends.
That's actually kind of fascinating.
Allowing you to cover a significant distance if you can deal with the rain and flooding. So
and since
really,
you're swimming, you could probably deal
with
with
a nice time bonus for you. The rain is really not hard to avoid, just stand under something while it pours, and you're going to be using that extra time to get distance anyway, so not being able to use a shelter twice in a row isn't much of an inconvenience
because you won't be there
unless
again.
You're karma farming. Shelter failures aren't actually a unique mechanic for Rivulet and can rarely occur for any slug cat.
Oh.
Rivulet just gets them far more often, and they are therefore a prominent feature of the campaign, so I figured it would be best to talk about them here.
In the same way that he brought up how the other characters had various similar issues, such as they could swim, but they won't. This cat slug thing was all about doing something that everyone else could do, but they do it so much better that it becomes a mechanic, not a detriment. Okay.
In my opinion, Rivulet's part of the story is also the best so far, though I have to say that the next two slug cats continue to up the ante. Final closing notes. Oh yeah, Rivulet can also pop bubble fruit with their moist, sweaty hands,
What?
which I guess is sort of convenient. And I hope you previously enjoyed traversing unfortunate development.
Tyler, there's rot.
Alright, next up
What?
is another combat character. So let's get started on...
And this is where we're going to cut this one here because I want to finish this up later. I'm enjoying this, and I love finding out so much more about the characters. And it seems like there's a lot going on, but I'm absolutely certain at this point, when I finish with Jay the Red and look at his finished portion of Downpour, I need to check out some of the lore for this game. Because it seems like he's going out of his way, specifically Jay the Red is going out of his way to leave in as many holes as possible so you don't learn everything immediately, so you can experience yourself. As someone who has literally no hand-eye coordination and would never be able to play this game beyond the intro and would probably not even finish that, I'm never going to run into the problem of needing spoilers because I will never get to the point of having them be spoilers. That would involve having skill. I don't do that. I find this absolutely fascinating. And even if it isn't something I could do, watching someone just jump around his rivulet looks so cool. It was awesome, man. So basically what I'm saying is, if you haven't already, there's a link below to the video. Hit it up. Jay the Red's doing an amazing job, and they're still under 10,000 subs. So if you haven't, go subscribe to this guy. It's amazing. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.